Hello, everyone. This is the final workshop for this topic. If you are not able to attend the first and second, you really did miss something. But I'm glad that you're all here, and I'm hoping to see more people kind of check in as the stage session ends. Please take note that there's going to be some interaction expected. So if you do plan to share your video and microphone, please be prepared to participate. And I'll allow our speakers to introduce themselves. And thank you very much for attending.
Thank you, Mr. Mishi. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Today, this is the final presentation of a 3 series work. We can recall what happened in the first sessions. We have learned deep learning through teamwork, peer assessment, and today we will focus on reflective learning. My name is Angela Romay. I'm a professor at Catholic University teaching English in La Paz, Bolivia. I have a degree in linguistics, and currently I am working on my thesis for my master's degree focused on teaching English to blind people. This is one of my main interests, to teach English to disabled ones.
And I am Beatriz Erazo, also from La Paz, Bolivia. I teach applied linguistics and oral and written communication at Mayor de San Andres University. I hold a master's degree in teaching English to speakers of other languages. And as a teacher trainer, promoting autonomy, confidence, and self-reflection are one of my topics of interest.
This is our last session. In this presentation, we will talk about reflective learning, getting students feedback for reflective teaching. Now it's our turn to have this feedback.
In today's session, we are going to refresh our memories regarding the definition of feedback. We are going to discuss plenty why we should get student feedback, and we are going to suggest 4 different strategies: the traffic light techniques, using memes, exit tickets, and reflective questions.
Being a teacher doesn't mean that we know everything, that we have all the answers. It means that we as teachers work every day to be sure that our students reflect on their learning. They solve problems they may have in the classes, create solutions to some difficulties they can face, and they can grow through feedback. And they can think of the activities that they have been working on. What the purpose of learning.
With that in mind, let's just refresh our memory regarding what feedback is. Yesterday, Angela mentioned that feedback is a communicative process in which we share our experiences and we help each other to get better in whatever we are doing. We focus on the positive, but we also provide solutions for the things that are not so positive. So it is a collaborative activity with the only purpose to make things better in the learning and also in the teaching experience for both participants.
Now, we would like you to participate. Answer this question. Do you think it's appropriate? Is it adequate for the students to give feedback to teachers? We invite you to unmute yourselves or write something on the chat box. We would like to have your participation, please. We would give them 2 minutes?
Yes.
All right. What do you think about this? We should receive feedback from our students. Melina, go ahead, please.
Well, I consider that it's very important receiving feedback from our students as a teachers because we can collect their needs and their own perceptions. Maybe our teacher's perception could be okay. We can think, okay, everything is going on well, and I'm acting well. All my resources that I'm providing or delivering my students are okay. But if we listen to them, we can reflect on them, and maybe we can gather our needs, and maybe some of our actions or resources are not adequate for them. And I think this is very important, especially now in the remote teaching.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said, right? We should focus on that. And sometimes, as teachers, as you said, we have one perception as teachers, and we don't know about the perception that our students have. It's really important to take into account and listen to our students. Do we have any other? Thank you so much, Elena, for your participation. The brave
Are there
teacher,
any other
the bravest
comments?
teacher. No, we don't have.
So maybe we have to say thank you again to Elena. And yes, I think Elena really summarized what we have in mind. As she said, our students are the experts in our classes because they are with us every single day, every single class. And they are the ones that are the recipients of our teaching practice. So they really know what works for them, what doesn't work for them. They know their struggles, and maybe they share their successes, but maybe not. So as teachers, we need to have a growth mindset to accept that students are going to have an opinion because they are the experts, versus having a fixed mindset in which we do not want to leave our comfort zone. So when we listen to our students, we have to also be ready to abandon that comfort zone.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. I unmuted myself. Do you recall these images? They are from the previous session, the previous workshop that we got, and we want to mention them because they were the strategies that we use for giving some feedback. The first one is related to the traffic light strategy. The second one, flowers or tomatoes. Then giving award related to a story that they might have said. Then we had rubrics or negotiating meaning, and finally the reflection.
Some of these strategies are going to be adapted to get this feedback.
The previous techniques require preparation and some training on both sides, okay, teachers and students in the process of learning. So let's begin easy and focused.
Thank you, Angelita. And when we say easy and focused, we are going to begin with the traffic lights strategy, which relates to the three colors that traffic lights have: red, yellow, and green. And when you begin using this strategy, tell your students that they have certain meanings. For example, the green means I know the material, I understand it, and I can explain it to my classmates. The yellow one means I know, but I don't feel confident to share. And the red one means, oh, I need lots of help. So if you are in class, in the classroom, face-to-face teaching, encourage your students to come prepared with these three colors, just three circles with these three colors. And while they are working, they should just exhibit them on their desks. So you go around monitoring and you can see if there is a green face, so things are going well for those students. If you see a red face, something has to be done. So go and offer your help. You can use this strategy when students are working individually, in pairs, or better if there is group work, if there is a team working together. In that way, when you see the colors, you are monitoring the activity, you know if it's working well or not. And also students have to self-monitor, and you have to encourage them to be honest, not to say that they are in the middle, and then when you go to them, they are really in need of extra help. This also is going to help you balance the time that you spend with different students. This type of information is going to make decisions. Is what we call assessment for learning. So maybe you are going to make some changes, and it's student-centered because it promotes responsibility on speaking up for themselves and saying this goes this way or this other way. You can also ask them to come up with cards following the soccer cards with these three different colors, right? This works perfectly well on-site and online classes, and it promotes encouragement. Also, some students may feel more identified with this idea of soccer than the traffic light, and you can adapt the meaning for different purposes. Instead, for example, you can use this when students are having a debate, on when you are analyzing how well a project went, or maybe the results on an exam. So while you are having this discussion, students can show you the green card and saying, yes, I agree with that, that happened to me, I understand. Or maybe I kind of agree with one part of the thing, but not with the other, or just definitely that's not my point. If you ask them to also elaborate on their choices, that becomes more enriching, and you are going to have a clearer idea of what's going on. If the colors cannot work, because that's something that happened to us in our previous sessions, people said, I cannot change the color of my faces because I would like to give a green one or a red one. Just use emojis, happy, serious, or sad, that they are going to have the same effect. But you have to teach your students to understand the meanings. For example, in my classes, currently I am teaching a beginner course. So we had our first partial exam, and I used a Jamboard, an application that you can find in Google Suite, and I asked my students to discuss what things they liked about their exam, and they had to use sticky notes to present their opinions. So they are just their opinions, what they like about the exam. It was in Spanish because I said they were real beginners. And then we had a discussion over their opinions. One of the opinions that I liked the most is they said, okay, that the exam was really relevant because everything that was there is something that we had worked on during our classes. Then the serious phase was for something that they did not like, but they did not dislike. And it was like, okay, to mention it, like maybe this can become an issue in the future. And finally, what they dislike, using the sad face of the emoji. So, for example, timing was an issue for them. We discussed about that. We came up with solutions. We decided that some parts may be assigned more time and others less time. And also the order of the parts of the exam, beginning with the speaking and finishing with the vocabulary, were their suggestions on how to solve these problems. You may use also these traffic lights strategies to ask your students how they are feeling in your classes, right? So in a certain moment in which you want to know and which you want to encourage your students to share their feelings, then the green card may mean, I like what you are doing. I like the way you are teaching me. But also the red card means, this is not working for me. And it is affecting them as at emotional level. So it would be a great idea that once in a while you change the meanings of these happy faces, emojis, soccer cards, or traffic light colors, so students can also share other parts of their wellness.
Now, we would like to know, how would you use the traffic light feedback technique in your classes? Can you share please some ideas and variations? You can unmute yourselves again or write something in the chat box. Waiting for your answers, please. How would you use this strategy?
We're going to give them 2 minutes as well.
All right. Maybe Melina from Peru. Oh, let's see. How would you use the traffic light? A strategy. And Melina mentioned that she loves. Melina, go ahead. Thank you so much.
And well, in this remote teaching, I've asked my students send me in my personal WhatsApp their favorite color. It means red, yellow, or green, according to their own feeling about the topic about that we did during the class. And when I got their colors, because they send the color you know that in the WhatsApp there's a lot of emojis, circles in colors, and then hearts in these colors. And when I started to talk to them and ask them personally using chat, or maybe making a phone call. Yeah. And then that's what I work in these remote classes.
And then if you allow me, I love the idea of asking them to send hearts, because that is like a more connected idea. Thank you so much for that suggestion.
We have, hi Jackie. Okay, good afternoon. She wrote a question. Have you understood the grammar explanation? So maybe she can ask that question to receive, to use the the traffic light feedback.
Absolutely true.
Thank you,
Yes,
Jackie.
they can use this technique to check understanding.
Mhm.
So maybe like 10 more seconds to see if somebody else would like to share something.
Yeah, maybe Musha Mishi, can you help us with Marco?
There
He
was,
wrote,
how did you like a specific activity?
Great.
Could you, okay, how, I'm not sure. Could you clarify a specific activity?
But maybe what
he meant.
he means is that from the activities that he presented in his
Mhm.
classes, he wanted to know which one was his student's favorite, probably.
Okay.
Are we
Maybe,
correct?
yeah, exactly, he said. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Now, look at this picture, please. What's this? What do you think it is? Have you ever seen a student looking at you in the classroom in that way? Have you ever experienced that kind of a student in your class? Could you tell us, please? Melina, please. Thank you so much for your participation.
Absolutely, I'm very familiar with this kind of expression of my students because in Peru, I am a rural teacher. I teach in
Mm.
rural areas, so my students started learning English when they are 11, 12 years old. It means that in elementary school, kindergarten, they don't learn English well. The first process when I started to speak in English or welcoming them, and they say, "Wow, what's happening here?" And yeah, that's it.
True.
Yeah. You don't like me, Jackie wrote, and it's really, I mean, this is a meme, right? And it's in Spanish, and it says when the teacher speaks English without captions, so students are like wondering what she or he is saying. It's really funny, this image. Thank you so much.
Then Marco had another interpretation possibly. It might be a communicative activity using some target language or expressions.
Absolutely
Hmm.
true. Yes.
Yes, nice, thank you. Now, memes. What memes are? They are funny images or videos containing some text that are often copied or altered while spreading rapidly through social media. Memes are really, really relevant in our classes because they generate excitement on our students. They spark creativity. They make our students have instant ideas, organizing something in that moment, and they help the students to speak up for themselves. Sometimes they don't want to tell us what they feel, but through memes they can do that. They are beneficial tools in the classroom, very relatable and engaging medium. They are really funny as well. So sometimes the students spark some complex conversations as well. And what they gain working on memes is that they gain technology skills in the process.
So why are we bringing memes to the table? It's because they can be used for different purposes in the classroom. Sometimes you can use a meme to reinforce classes, class rules, norms of discipline, and maybe school policies. You can use memes also to illustrate grammar rules or to build vocabulary, to begin a new unit, a new lesson, a new module using humor. And if you are teaching CLIL, for example, you can use memes to introduce a historical event, or maybe students can begin their classes or finish their classes using that. If it's literature, you can bring a meme related to a book they have to read, a novel, a poem, so they can identify with it. I am going to share with you some examples of memes, and we would love that you could tell us what do you think these memes are examples of. So we have number one, what I look like if you're talking while I'm talking. So please use the chat box, write the number and explain what is the use of this meme in our class. Here you can see the second one. Let's see, grandma, and grandma is like, what? And the last one, mansplaining. So let's have just like 1 minute. Please use the chat box and try to come up. What is the use of these memes in classes, please? Come on, write just the number and your ideas.
I think related to the first part, Melina wrote something because she mentioned that we can also use the stickers, the emojis, and our students can create their own ones as well.
Yes. So just in case, this one is precisely to reinforce class rules. This means do not talk if I am talking, do not talk if another student is talking. We have to listen, and when the person has finished what he or she has to say, then I can speak. This is for punctuation, and I really love it because it changed the meaning. Let's see it, grandma, and let's see it, comma, grandma. It has two completely different meanings. So I love that it says punctuation saves lives. And this is to build vocabulary. Mansplaining, when a man tries to explain a woman something and he has no related experience. So yes, these are just examples that people created. I use these memes in my class because they really lighten up it and change the environment and the report that we have. You can use them to reinforce what you are teaching, such as the punctuation thing. They break the ice. You can check the understanding of the concepts, as one of, I think Jackie mentioned, and you can use memes for the same purpose. And you can include memes in formative assessment. As Melina said, students can create the memes and they can demonstrate what they are learning, and you can use them for assessment for learning. And I have read in some cases, and people use memes in the midterm exams, either to encourage them to speak about it in a conversation, or maybe to write something about it, or to give their opinion. So memes can be used also to share emotions. To me, that is extremely important. I learned this from an Ecuadorian teacher, Elizabeth Ortiz. She used the memes so students can share how they were feeling during classes, and also to learn about their backgrounds. Memes are a way for the students to say how they are feeling when they cannot directly talk to you. I mentioned before that I have a very strong personality, and some students may feel that they cannot talk to me directly. So using memes, they can do it. Let me share some memes that my students created. This one that you see here is from a girl that was really worried about the grammar exam that she had just sat. And she saw that because a comma was missing between two adjective clauses, her answers had not been validated, and she was feeling really sad about that. So this was an opportunity for me to reinforce the learning, but also to reinforce the feelings and acknowledge the feelings of the students. So this is not something really serious. We can handle, and things, we are going to improve the things, don't feel that way. This one is about the speaking test. Sometimes we have a conversation with our students. Some other times I ask them to have a conversation between two students or three students. Otherwise, other times I ask my students to record themselves answering a question. But I forgot once that maybe the topic was going something that they could cause certain discomfort in the students, and then this girl, she came up with this meme, and that led me reflect on the consequences of bringing certain topics. So now what I do is like, I try not to use exactly the same topics of our classes, and maybe indirectly I survey them what would be something that they would feel comfortable speaking during the exams. This one is from a winter course. Our winter courses at Catholic University are intensive courses. They have classes, in this case, they had classes from 8:15 a.m. to 3:15 p.m., 8 hours, from Monday to Friday for 4 weeks. So it was quite intensive. And after the class, students had to work at home, with their homework assignments. They had to study, they had to prepare their lessons. So this girl said what her plans were for her and what the plans were for this week, and she was jealous of the cat. Also, we have to point out that instead of having their vacation time, they decide to take these courses. So it was kind of exhausting for them. This one was one that really made me think a lot. This is beautiful, Beatrizita. Thank you so much. I like to be called that way. However, look what my student is telling me. Like, he is afraid of the homework assignments, maybe because he feels or he thinks that I'm extremely demanding and I'm not going to accept anything but perfect. And he was scared. So after this, we had a conversation with the class, and they told me that sometimes I repeat my instructions too much, or the way I speak, they think that they are going to be penalized in any way. So we had to clarify various things to improve the situation. Sorry. This comes from the same intensive course. This meme was created by this girl at the end, almost at the end of the course. And I had been using the feeling wheel, so my students could tell me how they were feeling, and so also they could broaden their vocabulary regarding emotions and feelings. And she said that every day she woke up like optimistic, inspired, very positive, but then because she was already physically and mentally exhausted, she turned into be like scared and insecure and exposed. We had the final exams coming there, and they had no vacation, too many things there. We talk about it. It was not necessary for me to talk to her like personally, privately, but she was able to express how difficult this last time was for her.
There was a
This
question.
was another one. Yep.
In regards to, is there a site to make memes? Which one is it?
We are going to go there. We are going to go there. This one is because sometimes technology can be a pain in the ass, so I don't have to tell you. And the last one that I would like to share with you is this one. It's my favorite. I don't know if I know that it is the same in your country. Soccer is a very important thing. Bolivar is one of a well-known soccer team in my country. I would say that probably more than 50% of the population, the Bolivian population, is Bolivarista. Not me. I am beautiful and intelligent. I am a Socratista. And I had this habit to say, okay, oh, you made a mistake. Maybe it is because you are Bolivarista. And this student just, he didn't do a homework assignment, I think. And he just created this meme to say kind of, I'm sorry, or something like that. Just in case Angela, she is Bolivarista and she does it the other way. So this is my favorite, really. I really like it. Very creative. And of course, we had to talk about that.
All right. Answering your question, Marco. Yeah. Creating memes is not that difficult, and we can have different kinds of websites as the ones you can see on the presentation. Canva, Inkwik, Baidu, Meme Generator, Imgur, Quick Meme, Make a Meme, iMeme. They are free to use, they are simple to use, and you can assign these as homework or you can work with them in classes as well.
Something that you have to keep in mind is that students should understand the reasons why you are asking them to give you feedback. And students may feel reluctant to give you feedback because they may think it is going to be useless. However, you can motivate them by really listening to them and making changes. If they are telling you that they don't have enough time in the breakout rooms, or they would like to have, instead of 5 days, 10 days to do a project, and consider all the possibilities, even negotiate, but make the necessary change. Also, students can feel that if they give you negative feedback. You can call it constructive feedback, whatever. You are going to penalize them. You're going to get revenge on them in their scores. That's not exactly the point. You have to really teach them how to give feedback to you, so they are going to understand that they are going to do something positive for themselves. If they know that you are teaching them the best way to give you feedback, then they will realize that you are not going to get any revenge. Maybe they think that, oh no, I don't understand that, or I need more practice. Create optimal conditions for students to give you feedback. This is a process in which you and your students together have to get ready, have to work on the process step by step to get the best and more beneficial results.
When talking about feedback, we have to consider some attitudes. When giving feedback, we have to focus on behavior and not on the person. We have to be really specific on the weaknesses that we are observing. Being reasonable. So if we observe something that is not working well, we have to tell them why. We don't have to say, I don't like it, and that's it. You have to explain why. Keep it fresh. Don't go back. Don't talk about something that happened in the past. You have to talk about something that happened currently. Ask questions with what, with the personal pronoun I. I would like to know, I think, I believe, and accept that your feedback is yours. And then we have to follow up. When receiving feedback as teachers, we have to ask again and again. If our students give us some kind of feedback, we have to tell them why. They have to tell us why they are giving us that feedback as well. It's important, as Melina mentioned, to listen to our students. That moment when they are giving us some feedback, we have to
Melina
be
saying
quiet.
there are no slides on the screen right now.
Uh-oh, can you see the slides, Melina? No? What about you, Mushamishi? Can you see the slide?
I can, but it may be that you just have to. Melina, are you able to see the slides now or still no? Okay. Okay, Mark. Melina, could you just try to reset your browser or just refresh? And it should be able to allow you to view the slides.
Okay.
Obviously, I'll log you back in, Melina. So if you could just try to refresh, and if you're still having the same problem, then I'll try to talk you through it.
All right. So I was saying that it's really important to listen to our students. We have to be really open when we receive feedback. We know that it's not easy because nobody likes to be either mention that something wasn't working really well. We have to reflect on all the feedback that we are receiving from our students. And how can we respond then? Making changes. In my personal experience, I asked my students what was going wrong through some certain questions that I used with them, and it was too much homework. So I had to listen to them and change what I was doing. And it's really important to accept criticism. As I mentioned before, we don't have all the answers. We are not perfect. We can make mistakes. And we don't have to react defensively if we have some feedback. It's necessary to work together as a team.
I would like to add to that, if you allow me, Angelita, that
Of course.
this is the way that you give feedback to your students, right? And this is the way you train them to receive the feedback that you give to your students regarding their performance and their learning. So in a similar way, you have to teach your students, train them to give you feedback. So teach by example. In the follow-up, for example, if if you suggest something like you need to improve your fluency, for example, and you assign some task for the student to improve fluency, but you don't see that improvement, then you are going to go back to the student and ask him or her if he or she is improving or what's going on, right? If he is doing the activities. So that's what students have to do as well. If they have asked you to do something regarding the writing exam, for example, and they don't see the change, encourage them to come back and say, Beatriz, we suggested to do this. Have you considered the idea? That's the important thing.
Another strategy to give feedback is exit tickets. Exit tickets is related to some questions that you ask your students at the end of the presentation.
Now, I like to use Socrative. This is an application that it's very easy to use. You just create an account, get the exit ticket, and students can answer to 3 questions. The first 2 of them, they are fixed questions that you cannot change, the ones that are in black. But the ones that you have in red, it's the last question, and you can modify it. You can ask the one that I have here, what can I do to help you learn better? What activity you like the most? What worked well for you? How did you feel during the class, etc.
In my case, what I use Google Forms. So at the end, I send them the link and the students answer questions. Generally, I vary the questions, but the most common ones are related to what they have learned in today's class, if they have faced some difficulties with any activities that they have to work in class, what they need to practice more, and what worked well in my classes, and what kinds of changes do we have to make regarding the opinions that they write in the open questions. All this matters because feedback impacts instruction. It makes collaboration easier, working in teamwork. It builds skills such as critical thinking and communication skills. It improves culture, talking about environment. It gives improvement, direction, and meaning in both processes, teaching and learning. And it brings people together, social relationship. And the more we get, the better we'll be.
So the key to success is that you are going to train your students. The same way that you train yourself not to judge your students, well, teach them to avoid judgment. Explain clearly that the positive effect that it's going to happen in the learning experience if the students are able to speak. Offer alternatives for changes. You can say, we can do this or we can do other, or maybe students can suggest the possible changes that they want to see. Whatever they tell you, always ask them to explain and to elaborate. Because the more they speak, the easiest it's going to be for you to make the changes they want. And be accountable by example. If you are giving feedback, be accountable of the feedback that you are giving, be accountable of the way you receive it, and students are going to see that they should react in the same way. Encourage them not to tell you only the good, positive things. I like this and I like this. And sometimes it has happened to me that I said, oh, why didn't, is there something that you didn't like from the session? I said, no, I liked everything. Ask them to explain why. And then maybe by asking questions, you are going to really get the truth. Offer multiple opportunities for your students to give you feedback. It could be at the end of a task, maybe a new activity that you are trying, so you would like to know if it was useful, at the end of the session, at the end of the week, at the end of the month. That depends on you. It is also helpful to describe exactly the purpose of giving you feedback. And I have to be honest, although I have been doing this for a while, I just made a mistake this week. I have a class where my students are already accustomed to giving me feedback constantly, so they feel free to speak and they know that I am going to listen to them. I was trying an easy activity with another class, and I thought that this procedure that had worked well with other groups in the past was going to work well with them. It didn't. It was my mistake because I didn't tell them from the beginning that I wanted to know what was working well for them so I could keep on doing it and what changes needed to be done. I felt frustrated, but after reflecting on it, I had to admit that I was not clear at the moment of explaining the purpose. So ask your students to work as a team. Ask them to think. You could ask them to write down the feedback they are going to give you, or maybe to prepare an oral report.
Reflective questions help us to boost critical thinking and communication skills. And John Dewey, an American educator and philosopher, stated, we don't learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience. When we think about what we have done is the real moment when we are learning. I would like to give you an example. In our classroom, if we assign our students to introduce themselves, saying hello, hi, bye bye, and how are you, how's it going, they can experience those conversations and phrases with 10 or 20 students, depending on the students that we have in class. That part is the experience that they are facing. But when they reflect on the phrases that they are using for greeting, for farewell, or maybe for introducing the others, that's the moment when they are really learning. So reflection is really essential in our classes.
That's why it is important to ask your students to reflect and answer questions about your learning experiences. The questions that you can see here are the ones that I ask my students to reflect on their learning or the knowledge they are just acquiring, so I can learn uh, how to help them, or what to do less or what to do more. The point here is that they are going to analyze, yes, their own performance. And by doing that, they are going to learn the double, but also they are going to give me information for my teaching practice. These other questions that you see here, usually I ask my students at the end of each class that we have. Sometimes I don't do that if I don't have enough time, but usually I do it daily. So students focus on the class activities. And I think Marco suggested one of these questions, right? What activity did you like the most and why? Elaborate, explain why you liked it. Sometimes the students say, and that surprises me, oh, I liked working in teams because I learned about my classmates. I did not like the game that we played because I felt anxious. I don't like this kind of competition. So you can receive different answers. The most important to me is how they felt. Sometimes they are very honest. They say, no, no, I was very nervous, or I began the class tired and now I'm even more tired, or things like that. So they are going to help. As I mentioned, I'm teaching right now a beginner's class. So at the beginning of the semester, they did this in Spanish, but now gradually we are doing it all in English. There are some teachers and authorities that have arguments against getting feedback from the students. Some teachers may feel that students will not give you authentic feedback, and maybe they are going to take this opportunity to get revenge because they are failing or something like that. Also, students may feel that they don't want to have this responsibility to telling you what's working well for them or what's not working well for them. Yes? And supervisors, your bosses can say no. Now, if we ask the students to give feedback to the teachers, they're going to concentrate or being liked, to be the cool teacher, the nice teacher, the teacher that doesn't give much homework. So they are going to receive positive feedback. Some of them may also say that this is something that is just now fashionable. You know, the experts are talking about that. It's been suggested in that conference, re-evolution, but it's not going to last. They may also say that this is going to create a toxic environment in which we are going to forget the principal purposes of teaching and learning. However, we do believe that you can handle it. You can convince all the stakeholders of the necessity of working with these, especially if you have, if you follow the process in the appropriate way, baby steps at the beginning, explaining what the purpose is, being open-minded, being reflective, and also being ready to make changes. As we said, having a growth mindset.
There is simply no reason why a student backed on teacher performance is not part of more classrooms. As Beatriz said, it's really important to have feedback in order to reflect on them and we can work better as a team with our students.
What is the final outcome? That students reflect on what they are learning and the way they are being taught. That is the real essence of being a reflective learner, because that reinforces the experience of learning something, in this case, learning a language. And you are going to get more information. You are going to have more food for thought. You are going to reflect from the perspective of a teacher, but also you are going to reflect from the perspective of the student. And that makes you a reflective teacher. Now, we can spend 1 month workshops trying to really learn what is a reflective learning, and 2 months teaching students to teaching teachers to become reflective educators, reflective practitioners. This is not what exactly we are trying to reach in this presentation. What we want to say that this could be an important step on both sides, students and teachers, to get feedback and to make the whole process, teaching and learning, focused more on the learning, a better experience for your students.
Now, as Marilla Spinky said, we must remember that none of us is so good that we cannot be better. We want to finish this presentation with a quote. Thank you so much. We are ready for your questions. Do you have any questions?
Or any comments?
You can unmute yourselves or write on the chat box, please, if you have any questions or any comments.
Or maybe say if they would like to try any of these ideas in their classes. Wow, they are participating a lot.
They were writing, yes, but now.
Okay.
Okay. No, we don't have any comments.
There's a thank you.
So just in case if you are interested in knowing a little bit more about these are my email addresses, if you would like to know more about that. And this is also Angela email address. If you are interested in learning more about these ideas, maybe you would like to try them in your classes and share your experiences with us. I think we have just to say thank you so much if there's nothing else. Oh, somebody is asking if we could share. Yeah, sure. Just give me a minute. I'm going to share the link with you.
Yes, Melina.
In the chat box. And there it is. When giving feedback to students, is it a good idea to finish it with a positive feeling? I definitely agree with that comment. I'm sorry, I lost who said that.
Marco.
Yes, Marco, I totally agree with you. I finished my classes saying, thank you so much. This was really useful. So I thank them and I encourage them to continue doing that, because in that way, students know that in the future, I'm going to ask them again. The most important thing for me is to make them sure that I have listened to them. And even though I speak loud, or even though I may seem to be very strict, because I'm the type of punctual teacher, I encourage them to follow the new Bolivian time. The new Bolivian time is 15 minutes earlier to everything. So I'm very strict with that, for example. But students said, Beatriz, I know that you are very strict, but this time can we make a change? If I am open to those changes, even for those things that are very close to my heart, then they will feel more open to keep on asking other things and telling me other things.
And Marco mentioned that we can train our students. Yeah, of course, we mentioned that is important to train them how to give feedback, and we have to receive feedback, but an objective feedback, and that's part of training. And I always keep in mind one phrase that says, we never stop learning because life never stops teaching. So I think that is really, I always keep in mind that phrase.
Yes. And Marco is mentioning this good point, and I will go back to my personal experience. I made a terrible mistake when I did not specifically and directly said to my students, I want to receive your feedback. It was a simple activity. Please just make a list of the things that you think we should keep on doing in our classes, what things have to be improved. It was an easy activity, but they did not respond. And it was because I made that mistake. I didn't tell them. And now I know that next time that it's going to happen, probably next week, I'm going to tell them and I'm going to give more details on what I expect from them. So, yes, Marco, we have to have that in mind and we have to instill the same motivation in our students.